Okay, today's first concept is Mapplet. So there is a concept of creating a Mapplet and using it in IACS. So Mapplet is going to help like whenever we have any uh, reusable logic is there, which we are going to use it in multiple mappings, then we can create a Mapplet. So Mapplet is kind of a task, so which will be having set of transformations can be used inside the Mapplet to prepare certain logic. Okay, so in the mappings, like whenever we see the same kind of a logic is being used, so all those places, instead of creating all those transformation logics separately, we can directly make use of this Mapplet. Okay, show you how we are going to use it. Okay, so basically, so these are the some points about Maplets. So Maplets will be used to create some reusable logic, which will be having transformations, set of transformations, but it will not be having.
Master, we're not able. Sorry, we're not able to see his screen.
Sorry. Okay, able to see now.
Yes.
Okay. So Maplet is a reusable object that contains set of transformations, but it will not include source and target connections. Source and target uh, transformations also I can say. Okay. Source and target will not be there in the Maplet, but Maplet will be having Maplet input, Maplet output. So inside that we are going to build the transformation logic. Okay. Now wherever we wanted to use the same kind of a logic, instead of going with all the transformations like to be prepared again and again, we can go with the Maplet. Let's say there is some logic which is include some 4 5 transformations, and the same logic is going to be used across all the mappings or many of the mappings. So then let's say when we are using some 4 5 transformations, if at all there is any change in the logic, what we should do again, or wherever the mappings which is having this logic, all those mappings we have to change them, right? So instead of doing that, we can create a reusable object called Maplet. So inside that we can give this transformation logic whenever there is any change. So we will just do the logic change in the Maplet, so that whenever we are going to execute, it is going to extract the transformations. It is going to extract the transformations from the Maplet. So at that point in time, whatever the logic was there, with that logic, the mapping is going to execute. Okay. This is going to allow to define the business logic once and reuse it multiple mappings. Okay, because which is going to save time and effort to build the logic of the transformations, and if at all there are any changes, it will be easy to do it. Okay, so key components of a Maplet. So Maplet will be having input and output. So the transformation logic will be prepared inside the between the input and output. Okay, so whatever the input values that we will have to connect, yes, we will have to create input ports, and then we'll have to connect them to the next transformations. So inside that we can use filters, router, expression, lookup. Okay, many transformations that we can use it. Okay, so when to use a Maplet? So whenever we have the same logic that to be implemented in multiple mappings. That time, so a Maplet allows you to define it and reuse it. So mainly for reusability. Okay, so simplification, so maintainability. Okay, so as I told, right, so whenever there is any changes in the logic, so instead of doing it in all the mappings wherever we have the similar logic, we can do it in a single maplet. So we can do it in single maplet. Whenever we execute the mapping, at that point in time, whatever the transformation logic was there, with that logic, with that logic, the mapping is going to get executed. Okay, so that whenever we have any changes also, it will be, we can do it easily. So that's why, so maintenance of Mapplet is very much easier. Okay, next is simplification. Okay, so this simplification means, so whenever we have any complex mappings, so those we can break it into multiple Mapplets. Okay, multiple chunks called using Mapplets. So then we can simplify the logic, so that whenever we see any kind of issues, whenever we wanted to troubleshoot the mapping, so what we can do, is, so until this particular logic is being implemented in this Maplet, this particular logic is being implemented in this logic, is in this Maplet. So whether this Maplet is working fine or not, or the other Maplet is working fine or not, so that so this Maplet is having only this particular transformations and logic. So we can test it individually. So since it is a complex mapping, right? So we are going to have a huge number of transformations. So when we have this huge number of transformations, so it will be very difficult for us. It will be very difficult for us to identify or understand the logics. So we can cut the logics into pieces, and each piece can create a maplet, and we can use the maplets inside the mappings. Now go to IACS. Let me show it in IACS. Click on new. We have a maplet here. Okay, so this maplet we can create. Click create here. The maplet will be automatically so coming with the input and output. So this input and output, it will not be having anything. So output also will not be having anything by default. Okay, so input fields, we will have to create the input fields. So field name, first name, last name. Okay, so we have input fields, first name and last name. Let's say we wanted to concatenate these two, and we have to get it into a single name field. Now what we should do, we have to use an expression. So in the expression, what we should do, create one output port. So here we can do a concatenation. Concat of first name, comma, last name. Okay. Now we can get a name port. So in the output, in the incoming fields, we can exclude these two, because I don't want these two from input. I just wanted only for name. So now by seeing this maplet, so wherever we have this first name and last name, where we have to concatenate them, what we can make use of this maplet. We can just drag and drop the maplet, just connect input and output. Sorry, connect these two input ports, and we can get the output. So this is just a very simple example. So like that, let's say we wanted to change. So instead of concatenation here, what we should do, we have to add some space in between first name and last name, or we have to add hyphen in between first name and last name. Okay, so then just consider that as, just assume that as a logic changes. So these kind of changes, let's say we are using this maplet, or this concatenation logic of first name and last name is there in 10 mappings or 20 mappings. When we have it in 10, 20 mappings, So whenever there is any change here in the logic, so when we wanted to implement it, okay, so though it is a simple change that we will have to do it in 10, 15 mappings or 10, 20 mappings wherever it is being used. Okay, wherever it is being used. So instead of doing the changes in all those mappings, we can do it in a simple maplet. mplt underscore name. Okay, so I'm just saving it. So here it is showing invalid. Why it is invalid? In the output. Okay, what it is showing? So in the output, we have to create output fields. Generate output fields from the incoming field. Now save it. So what I did was I just excluded the fields that I don't want, but field mapping I should give. Okay, we have to create output fields and then we have to do a field mapping. So without doing output fields and in the field mapping, the maplet will be invalid. So which field should map to which field? So what is the target field we have to create? Okay, so this is how we are going to create a maplet. Inside that, inside between this input and output, we can create n number of transformations. We can create a number of transformations with any logics. Okay, any questions here in the maplet?
No, Bhaskar.
Okay,
Bhaskar, only thing is there any real-time example, like what main transformations we'll use in the Mapplet in real time?
in real time also these kind of logics only that we are going to use it. Okay, let's say there will be a product table, look up on product table. We have to get the product ID. Okay, so now conditions of the lookup transformation will be changing. Okay, so our query in the lookup transformation will be changing with certain logics. So that time, what we do is we'll just use a maplet and we'll just add the lookup transformation inside the maplet, and we can get it. Or once we get the lookup values, so then there will be certain conditions to be verified. So whether the record which is coming from source is matching with this certain criteria or not. Okay, so that criteria is kind of a logic. So that criteria is going to be same across all the places wherever we are using this lookup on product table. Okay, so that time also we'll be going with the maplet, because so there we are going to use a lookup and an expression for the comparison purpose, and we'll be using a filter to filter out the data which is not matching the logic which is coming from source. So that business has given. Okay, so to use that reusability, we'll be using this maplet. See, all you have to understand and all you have to remember is, so whenever we get a requirement that this particular the same logic is there in multiple mappings, then we will have to use a maplet. First, we will have to implement that inside the mapping, test it, verify it. So if it is working fine, so then keep that logic in a maplet and just plug the maplet.
Okay, Bhaskar, if they like if already in any company there'll be some Applets already defined, right?
Yes.
We mention in the requirements, or that we need to find out whether this logic has a maplet already created or not. Like, how do you find that?
Yeah, actually, first we should see the maplets. Okay, what is being there? Okay,
Okay.
or when we are implementing logics, right? See, nowadays
Yes.
with IACS, majority of the project, I would say around 90% of the project, I can say, are migration projects. Okay, there are very lesser number of projects, like around 10% projects only are brand new developments. Okay, So because all the projects are migrating from Informatica Power Center to IACS, or Data Manager to IACS, or any other ETL tool to data stage to IACS, like that. Okay. So in that case, so majorly we can see that already transformation logics, everything will be there in an existing tool. What we should do is we just need to migrate as it is we just need to migrate the same logic. Okay, see if
Okay.
there is a maplet there, we will have to create here. Okay, or when we get a mapping document, inside
Mm.
that also, like, so people will be mentioning that. Okay, so this is the same logic is being used and maplet is created. Okay, so if that is also is not there, so then what we should do is we need to see is there first maplets. Okay, first we need to see the mapping document. Inside the mapping document, do we if we are going to feel like this kind of a logic will be there in the other mappings. Okay, because if all the ports are one to one direct maps, so then there is no point of using maplets, because whenever there is a logic defined, okay, so then we need to see the maplets. So this kind of logic is being implemented in the maplet or not. If it is implemented, then, or otherwise, still if you have any doubts, okay, so then we need to ask the team leads. Okay, so because I'm seeing this kind of a requirement in the mapping document, so do we have any maplet for this kind of a requirement? Because since I feel like this can be kind of a reusable logics, so do we have any maplet like that? So if something is there, they let us know. Even if it is not there, what we can do, we'll just continue with the development with the direct transformation logic, everything. Okay, and we'll complete the mapping. And if somebody sees that, as when somebody reviewing the code, like team lead or senior people in the team, like if they are going to review the code, so if they say that, yeah, there is certain logic is already implemented, okay, then we can make use of the maplet. But usage of maplet is very rare. Okay, very very rare.
Okay, Bhaskar. Thank you.
So now let me integrate this maplet into any of the mapping. Okay, so let's say the source is having first name and last name. Now we have a maplet task. Okay, so this maplet task, first we should click on this maplet. We have to select the already created maplet. Once we create the maplet, okay, so then we can connect it. Input. So immediate after maplet, we should not use directly connect to the target. At least we should use an expression like just pass through expression. We should use it, because why pass through expression is required, just to see how many output ports are coming. Sorry, how many incoming fields from the previous transformations are coming from the maplet. From the maplet, we can see only one transformation is only incoming fields is only the name field. From source, whatever fields are coming, that is not there. So now what we should do, we need to connect to the expression. So now we can get all the fields from expression. So whatever are coming from source there, also whatever is there, whatever is coming from maplet, even this is also there. Now we need to give the field mapping. Okay, which source field we should map to the input of the maplet. Now I'm mapping first name to first name, last name to last name. I'm mapping it now, so that these inside the maplet we have two input fields, first name and last name. So these input fields, what value should go to these input fields is what we have to do it in the field mapping. Now this maplet will be having this transformation logics. It will be implemented. It will come to output. Okay. So this is how we have to use the maplet. So any questions? Anyone having any questions? How do we use the maplets?
No, Baswe.
Okay, and there are certain limitations also while using the maplets. Okay, always till now we have seen the positive part of a maplet, but there are some negative parts also there. There are some limitations. So that's why we should not use the maplets like for every requirement. Okay, so there are certain limitations also is there in the maplet. Okay, because one limitation is basically we will not be able to use the target definition. Sorry, we will not be able to use all the transformations in the inside the maplet. Like SQL transformation, we cannot use normalizer, we cannot use, and direct sources we cannot use. Okay, external procedure transformation we cannot use. Okay, XML transformations we cannot use. Okay, so like that, there are certain transformations that we cannot use it in the inside the maplet. Okay, now since we are not able to use the many transformations, so we need to see what for every logic, what kind of transformations that we are going to use. Is Mapplet is supporting those transformations or not? That is the primary thing that we will have to see it. Okay, so that is first thing, and second thing is performance impact. Okay, so this is the Mapplet will be having if the Mapplet is having huge logic is being implemented. Okay, so when we are going to execute, so sometimes in real time, what is going to happen? In single maplet will be clubbed with multiple logics. Single mapping will be clubbed with multiple logics. So out of that logics, then we'll be using one or two logics, but not all the logics. So that time, so what people usually do is, since already this logic is being implemented inside the maplet, let us use it only. So what is there in it like that, people will think. But the other transformation logics are unnecessarily there and which is going to be overloaded to the mapping. So just to avoid, so that time it will be difficult for the performance part. Okay, so always we need to see the maplet. So this particular maplet is having exact requirement whatever we have or not. If there is any deviation inside that, then what we should do immediately, so we have to create another maplet and we can make use of the other another maplet. Okay, so debugging. So debugging meaning, so when we are debugging, let's say there is some logic. So when we are loading the data from source to target, which is not loading properly. So the data into the target table is not loading properly. There are some issues are there. When we have some issues, where exactly this issue is there? So identifying that will be a little easier. So for that, what we should do? Usually, we will be debugging the mapping. So when we are debugging the mapping, so it will be a little difficult for us to identify, or it will be little difficult for us to debug the mapping. Okay, because there are some transformations will be there inside the maplet, so that it will be we cannot expand it. So since we are not able to expand it, it will be difficult for us. So how exactly this maplet is being working? Okay, so port mapping complexity. So there are certain things are there. We don't need to worry all these things. Okay, but majorly the transformations, multiple transformations, we cannot use it, and the debugging part, performance impact. So these are the three major limitations of a maplet. Okay, any questions? Any questions? Anyone having any questions?
No, Bhaskar.
Okay, I think since there are only 2, 3 people today, 3 people today in the class, this is enough.